In this video, we're going to explore the life of Michelle Lang. She was 25 years old when she achieved her dream of study in Australia in 2016, where her story took a sad turn. Michelle, also known as Ming Ming, was born in Shanghai, China, on January 29, 1991. She was a sensible, kind, and respectful young woman. A tragic event occurred in 2008 when Michelle's father passed away in an earthquake. This was a devastating loss for Michelle, as she was very close to her father. Despite this hardship, she was determined to pursue her education in Australia. With the strong support of her mother, she worked hard, hoping that getting an education in Australia would lead to a brighter future. In 2011, Michelle finally realized her dream of going to Australia when she enrolled at Sydney University of Technology. Her mother's sister kindly offered her a place to stay in her apartments in Australia. Michelle's younger cousin also lived with them. Then, in 2012, at the age of 44, her mother's aunt got married to Derek Barrett, who was 20 years younger than her. It is worth noting that Derek was only 3 years older than Michelle, and he didn't have a job at that time. This marriage added an interesting twist to Michelle's story. Together, Michelle, her aunt, cousin, and Derek all lived in a suburban area known as CSI. Over the years, Michelle did really well in her studies, made friends, and worked part-time. In 2016, April, she, along with her cousin and Derek, stayed in an apartment in Kempsey, while her aunt was away working in Wollongong. Unexpectedly, Michelle's aunt returned from her business trip 3 days earlier than expected, on April 24th around noon. At that time, 25-year-old Michelle was out with her friends. She took a bus from UTS to a shopping mall in downtown Sydney at about 3 p.m. Security cameras recorded Michelle shopping on Pitt Street in Sydney's CBD. She looked calm and relaxed while shopping alone. Later, Michelle was seen taking a train from St. James Railway Station to Kempsey Railway Station, arriving at 4:30 p.m. She was last seen alive at the county's train station, where she continued to talk with her friends and family on her cell phone until late in the evening. Those who spoke with Michelle that night didn't notice any sign of nervousness or any strange voice. On Sunday, April 24th, Derek went to the train station to pick up his wife, who was returning from her business trip. He asked about Michelle's whereabouts, mentioning that he hadn't seen his niece for 2 days. Derek, who didn't have a job and was known for being late, said that Michelle had been going to nightclubs and spending time with her friends. Michelle had been missing since April 22nd, and her phone had been turned off. It was unusual that Michelle's friends and family didn't hear from her daily. In today's world, most people are active on social media, so her sudden absence raised concerns. Michelle's room was neat and all her things were in the usual places, which worried her family. Michelle's aunt and Derek became worried and reported her as a missing person. They also contacted the Chinese consulate to let them know about Michelle's disappearance. Derek mentioned the last place he saw Michelle to the police, but they couldn't locate her. Tragically, just before the police report was filed at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, April 24th, several people called the police after spotting a body floating near Snapper Point, about 80 miles from Sydney. Australian media reported the discovery of a woman's body on the same day. The report stated that a woman's body was found face down in a blowhole on the New South Wales Central Coast. The police treated her death as suspicious and established a crime scene at Snapper Point in Matra Estate, between Gosford and Newcastle. The victim was described as an unidentified Asian woman, aged between 20 and 35, approximately 170 centimeters tall. An autopsy was scheduled to determine the cause of death. The rescue chopper spokeswoman mentioned that they didn't know how long the woman had been in the water or how she got there. Detective Chief Inspector Gary Jublin of the New South Wales Homicide Unit stated that they were actively investigating the area and what happened there. They were reviewing CCTV footage and conducting surveys to gain valuable insights, but he didn't disclose their finding at this stage. Upon receiving a report of Michelle's disappearance, the police cross-referenced it with the unidentified woman whose body was found at Snapper Point. The deceased woman was later identified as Michelle, bringing immense sorrow to her family. Inspector Jubling also mentioned that the police had contacted Michelle's family. The body found in the sea showed several injuries, indicating that Michelle had been brutally attacked. During the autopsy, the examiner found over 30 stab wounds, and her arm showed signs of struggle as she fought for her life and resisted her attacker. After Michelle's tragic death, her mother flew to Australia to visit the place her daughter had dreamed of. She's still struggling to cope with the shock of her daughter's passing. She said, "We still can't believe she's no longer with us, and the pain is unbearable." She added, "The saddest thing in life is losing a loved one." Detectives questioned Michelle's aunt and her husband because she had been living in their apartment, and they knew her well. Derek last saw her on the night of Thursday, April 21st. After dinner, they watched a movie and Michelle went to bed. When he woke up on Friday, April 22nd, she was gone. He often slept in, so he assumed she had already left. He thought she was out with her friends and didn't return the following day. When he woke up and she was still missing, he tried to contact her, but his messages went unanswered. While on a business trip, Michelle's aunt couldn't provide any information. However, some Australian media reports suggested that she told the detectives that she checked her niece's Facebook messages on her laptop and found recent messages indicating that Michelle had been dating an Australian man with blonde hair, fair skin, and intense eyes. Initially, the police suspected that Michelle had been dating someone she met online, but they quickly abandoned this theory. Investigators did have a suspect in Michelle Lang's murder, and the last person to visit her was Derek Barrett. The police had doubts about his claim of oversleeping and not seeing Michelle. They brought him in for questioning regarding his relationship with Michelle in his last interaction with her. After refusing to answer questions and requesting a lawyer, Derek was informed that he was being arrested as a suspect. The police examined his phone signal and found that he was near Michelle's body on April 24th, contradicting Barrett's claim that he didn't have visited Snapper Point that day. They also discovered video footage of a car matching Barrett's description near Snapper Point early on April 24th, challenging his claim that it wasn't his vehicle even though the photos was of low quality. However, high-quality video evidence showed Derek Barrett buying gas and alcohol at a service station on his way to Snapper Point. In the footage, Barrett was clearly visible. When confronted with this evidence, he claimed to have a memory issue due to drug use. His phone was taken by the police and given to experts for analysis and recovery of data. The contents of the phone provided more evidence linking Derek Barrett to Michelle's death and revealed an unhealthy interest in her. In addition, there were disturbing videos on his phone. One 15-minute video from September 2014 showed his stepdaughter, his wife's daughter, in the shower. Derek had hidden a camera in the shared bathroom behind toiletries. Another video showed Derek entering his stepdaughter's room while she slept and engaging in inappropriate behavior. Later, Derek Barrett shifted his focus from his stepdaughter to his niece. Experts were able to recover 30 minutes of footage of Michelle being filmed without her knowledge or consent. Another disturbing video showed Derek standing next to Michelle's bed while she slept. Derek Barrett's phone also contained photos taken before Michelle's death. It was established that Michelle arrived home around 5 p.m. on April 21st, and no one had seen or heard from her since her last text message. Derek Barrett's deceitful actions began around midnight. He tied Michelle up and taped her mouth to silence her. Investigators discovered pictures of Michelle bound and unclothed on the bed, clearly terrified. These photos were taken before her fatal injuries. Derek took his last photo around 4 p.m. on April 22nd when Michelle was still alive. Derek's stepdaughter returned home completely unaware that her cousin was bound in an adjacent room. When questioned later, she mentioned being at home for 3 hours before leaving. Sadly, Michelle's cries for help went unanswered, and authorities couldn't determine the exact time of her death. Michelle's whereabouts during that period remained a mystery, but she was in the apartment while his stepdaughter was at home. Derek was caught on surveillance cameras leaving the apartment 4 times on April 23rd. disposing of garbage bags in an apparent effort to clean up after Michelle's tragic incident. His wife told detectives that the apartment appeared clean when she returned from her business trip, and she didn't pay much attention to it. At 3:19 a.m. on April 24th, Derek drove to a place called Snapper Point, stopping at a gas station for refreshments and fuel along the way. At Snapper Point, he disposed of Michelle's body and took photographs. Approximately 5 hours later, at around 9 a.m., authorities received a report from eyewitnesses who had spotted the body in water. Later, Derek visited his parents and he didn't notice anything unusual about his behavior. Derek Barrett was charged with 27 counts, including wrongful confinement, hidden videotaping, and the murder of Michelle. Notably, he wasn't charged with any sexual offenses. The trial began in October 2017, and a psychiatrist who assessed Derek found him fully responsible for his actions. Barrett expressed remorse in a letter, acknowledging the pain he had caused. In a letter to his wife and Michelle's family, Derek Barrett expressed deep regret for his actions. He acknowledged the pain he caused and wished he could undo what happened. Tasia J., Michelle's mother, pleaded with the judge to sentence Barrett to life in prison. She shared that her family was devastated by the loss of her daughter in April 2016. As a single mother supporting her international student daughter in Sydney, the tragedy took a heavy toll on them. Michelle's grandmother also passed away from grief after her son's death, leaving the family broken. In December 2017, Derek Barrett pleaded guilty to multiple charges and received a 40-year prison sentence. He won't be eligible for parole until 2050 due to the seriousness of the crime. Detective Gary Jublin expressed satisfaction with the lengthy sentence, emphasizing that it reflects the gravity of the crime. He acknowledged that while it's not a cause for celebration, achieving justice is gratifying for investigators. However, Michelle's family wanted Barrett to serve a life sentence and understandably felt upset. The story took a disturbing turn when a woman discovered a USB drive in her mother's possession, who was suffering from dementia for years after the crime. This elderly lady had no connection to Derek Barrett and used to live 6 miles away from him before his 2016 arrest. Due to her memory issues, she remained unaware of how she came to possess the USB drive. The woman's daughter decided to check its contents on her computer, and she was shocked by what she found. She promptly called the police. Upon reviewing the footage, investigators uncovered evidence of Derek Barrett's consistent acts driven by his perverse desires, treating Michelle as an object. The videos were recorded on April 22nd and 23rd, 2016, showing an abuser who derived pleasure from causing harm, humiliation, and degradation, ultimately damaging Michelle's dignity. The police informed Michelle's mother about the new videos, which deeply upset her. She fainted upon hearing the content described by the police. Derek Barrett, who had placed 2 video cameras in Michelle's room to capture his actions from different angles. Supreme Court Justice Helen Wilson, who had initially sentenced Barrett to 46 years, stated that if she had known the full extent of his offenses in 2017, she would have sentenced him to life in prison. She described the 9 USB drive recordings as disturbing and mentioned a 60-minute police video compilation showing Barrett entering Michelle's room. She expressed surprise and concern about his intrusion into her bedroom, emphasizing that she did not want him there. Justice Wilson observed that the recordings made by the offender suggested his intent to derive enjoyment from them later. Barrett's attempt to dispose of the USB drive indicated his desire to avoid detection. Derek Barrett faced charges of sexually assaulting Michelle Lang due to the new evidence. He pleaded guilty in March 2021 without making any comments and receiving an additional 20-year prison sentence. Unfortunately, he will serve both sentences concurrently, and his prison release date is now set for October 27th, 2052. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. It's free and it helps out the channel. We will meet in the next one.